Why should we do that first time round?
Yes.
That's what we talking about.
Our second guest now from Andy's Man Club. And yeah, as before, just going to hear a little bit about their story and sort of dive into it and take the conversation wherever it goes, and just chat about whatever's underneath and their situation, their story a little bit, and just enjoy listening to the sort of conversation about it. So yeah, whenever you're ready, if you want to just tell us your name, a little bit about your story. We'll try not to go as much into the Andy's Man Club itself, and just really talk about whatever you want to talk about, to do with your situation and any sort of like advice or key points that sort of led you to join the club, and yeah, whatever you really want to talk about in your life and your story.
Yeah, cheers guys. No, thank you. So yeah, I'm Steve. I'm 38, 39 tomorrow actually. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
And yeah, so I've lived in Plymouth all my life. So yeah, born and bred Janner. I've been going to Andy's Man Club since January 22, so just over 3 years now. Was a facilitator from around about the summer of that year, summer 22, and then June last year, I was lucky enough to actually get a job with Andy's Man Club. So what I currently do now is area lead for the southwest of the country. So basically, what my role is to kind of help kind of oversee the groups that we have here in in Devon and Somerset at the moment. We're hoping to open some groups in Cornwall soon, to try and open up new groups as well, and to raise awareness about the charity in the southwest of the country, and encourage other guys to come along if they feel they want to.
Well, because it's like you said, Rhys, when we were talking to you the first time, Andy's Man Club the first time, we didn't realise how big it was. In that it's like 300, is it like 300?
We're probably going to hit 300 this summer. So at the moment I think we're around about 283, 284, somewhere in there. So yeah, in a couple of months' time, we should be hitting 300. So yeah,
that just kind of shows, doesn't it, how men's mental health is very important and how we have struggled, because that's quite a lot of places that have opened.
It is. I mean, it's a weird one. When we do presentations and we talk about the charity, we kind of always say that our ultimate goal at the end is to not need to be here anymore, to not to be in existence, so that there are systems or things in place, or there's the comfort in place, or it's in society where it's people can just talk and there's help out there more readily available. But until that point, and there is a need for it, our goal is to have an Andy's Man Club no more than 30 minutes away from every man in the UK, which is huge. That's a huge thing to try and get to. But we know from the amount of guys that come along on a Monday night, we average around about 5,800 guys every Monday nowadays that come along to our groups. Obviously, with more opening, that number's going to increase.
That's frightening figures, really, isn't it? Because I don't think we understand the full depth of numbers of people that are actually struggling,
and that's just people that turn up. That's just the people that take that, like we said, every time that that first hard step of turning up. And that's the people that have finally been brave enough to come and talk about it, and the people that aren't, like I said before, burying your head in the sand. That's just the people of that are opening up about it. They're like on their way to getting better. They're not even at the
So what started you off going to Andy's Man Club, and how did you find out about Andy's Man Club?
So for me, so I started suffering from anxiety and depression towards the end of the first COVID lockdown. So it was, we were getting into the summer of 2020. Unbelievable, it's kind of 5 years ago now. Isn't that long ago, is it?
No.
So kind of around about that time, I was starting to suffer from anxiety attacks for the first time. I was getting a real fear of kind of seeing people, socialising.
What did that do? Like, is that from lockdown, was it?
Yeah, well, I thought I was doing okay, to be honest with you. I suppose to a point, I kind of didn't enjoy it, but it was I got myself into my routine.
Yeah.
If you remember, the weather was amazing
Yeah.
for a lot of that period, and just the job I was working at the time. Basically, I was able to go to that office. I don't know if I should be saying this or not, but I was able to go to that office. It was only like 2 minutes away from my house, so it was fine. And I was kind of working in that office on my own, but then coming back to my house with my kind of with my family, and it was quite comfortable. I was kind of I didn't mind it so much. But when we got to that point where things were then starting to open up, and I would be kind of meeting back, I would be sharing an office then with my colleagues, and friends were maybe getting in touch about meeting up and that kind of thing. I've always been a very sociable person. I've never suffered with kind of social anxiety before, and I just found myself getting terrified. I remember getting this message from a friend of mine. He just messaged me to say, let's sort something out, and my whole body would tense up. I'd get really emotional and start like breaking down in tears. At my work, I would get emails and phone calls from certain people, and the same thing would happen. I'd have to take myself out and walk around the block, and start just really physically reacting to it, breaking out in sweat. So I don't think it wasn't just COVID that kind of caused that to happen. The kind of previous 10, 12 years to that, two very close family members of mine had suffered from quite severe mental health breakdowns, and I was kind of the main source of support for that at the time, as well as starting a family, getting married, buying a house, doing kind of lots of other adulting things, and I think finally kind of the pressure cooker kind of got to that point, and that was the release valve really. So I knew I needed to do something because I know what my family members have gone through, so I knew I needed to speak to someone, get on top of it straight away. I suppose that's one thing that's slightly different with my story, is a lot of people do say that they bury their head in the sand and they don't try, they try to avoid it or get through it in a certain way, and I kind of knew that's how some of my family members had dealt with it.
Yeah, you knew early on because you had seen it play out. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
How did you find like the anxiety side of it? Because if I'm honest, completely honest with you, I didn't really ever believe in anxiety. I didn't really understand it. I don't think I've like delved too much into it to understand it all. But I remember a couple of years ago suffering with that, where the thought of going out and being seen, I would have complete like you said, shut down, and you are just like breaking out, and like you're breaking out in tears, but you don't really understand why you're breaking out in tears. But no, I never really believed in it until I've had it, and I was like, wow, this is like completely something I've never experienced in my life.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really difficult, isn't it? I think it can be quite individual to every person, can it? And it can come from seemingly nothing, or just seemingly something very trivial potentially. Like I say, it was just emails from certain people, phone calls from certain people, messages from certain people. Not anyone that I didn't like or anything, but just that kind of reach out. I think I was so kind of used to like the comfort of my four walls and my children and my family I was living with, and kind of being on my own for a lot of the period as well, and then just kind of breaking out of that just felt really overwhelming. And then kind of since then, because I did want to pick up on something that I think you mentioned earlier, Rhys, actually, was so just going back to my story slightly. So what I did was I went to see a counsellor, and in their office they had a poster for Andy's Man Club up, and I either asked about it or they told me about it. And this was a female counsellor, and she told me about the idea of what it was and what happened, and it sounded great. It sounded like something I'd really get a lot from. So eventually I joined a couple of online meetings, and then which were good. Our online meetings are great, but I knew I needed to kind of go to something in person. And then eventually it took me a good, year, just over a year to eventually go to the group at City College, because A, it was still COVID, that we weren't open, and B, to find the courage, like kind of everyone has said about to go there for the first time. So just going back to what I heard you mention earlier, Rhys, is like, it sounds like you've kind of found a bit of a level of acceptance of this is maybe something that's going to happen to me every now and then. Is that kind of fair to say that these things are
I think I've accepted the fact that life's never always going to be easy. Life's never always going to be rosy. There's always going to be something in life that's going to pop up. And sad to say, I've kind of accepted the fact that like I always live life on the edge, as in I know something could happen at some point in time. It's going to flip my world upside down. But I think that comes from, I break down my previous relationship where, to go for like a very long time at that, that just all went away. And like, I didn't have a great relationship with my dad growing up. So, and he's slowly come back into my life now. So I haven't in my head allowed him to come in because I'm waiting for the time when he like goes away again. So in my head, I've kind of, like I said, I've accepted the fact that life, like there's gonna be days when I'm alright, days when I'm just a bit shit, but I've kind of accepted that.
Yeah, I think I kind of got to that point as well because so I had a diagnosis of anxiety and depression. I saw my GP, so I started taking some medication for that as well, which I still take. And I think I kind of very quickly came to the realization that this is just my personal opinion on myself, and I'd never speak kind of, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. But I'm kind of definitely the opinion of myself is it's a bit of a lifelong battle. It's something that is kind of always going to be there. Or you call it whatever you want, but there's always going to be anniversaries. There's always going to be reminders. There's always going to be situations which are difficult or remind you of a difficult time or a time when you weren't very happy, and it's going to bring up those feelings again. And one thing that Andy's Man Club has really given me is ways to maybe not necessarily combat that, but be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm always on edge or anything, but what I've kind of found through going to Andy's Man Club and listening to other guys, maybe not going through the same situation that I have, but other situations, is I started learning about things like mindfulness and journaling and cold water therapy, exercise, all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
Some of which I tried, some of which I didn't try, some of which I'll never try. I'm still not going to jump into the sea. But then through trying some of them, I found my own little 3 or 4 things
Find what
that
works for you.
Exactly. That really help me on a daily basis.
Yeah, see, for me, I find writing is my not even how I feel, just simple things, write a shopping list, just distracting my mind of like, my other half now hates it when, payday's around the corner, notepad comes out and I'm working out, like, your pay, my bills, and then we're working out how much money we've got left, and then we write down a shopping list, and I'm, so anal doing the date, and I've got, that's my way of distracting myself for 5-10 minutes of the day, kind of getting out of this world that we're in, and then that's my way of just getting away. I've always got a pen or a pencil in my hand. And I think for Christmas, Mum bought me like a little notebook and like a little colouring thing, just so I can just distract myself for however long it takes.
You're obviously a creative person, you've got your podcast and everything, so
Well, that came from
just exploring ways.
I was kind of feeling depressed, and I don't know. Like I said in the other episode, I just felt like it isn't spoken about enough. So I was feeling like I'm the only one that feels like this. So my idea with this is I wanted people to come here and watch the videos we put on, the 45-minute videos that we're putting on, and people are like, wow, I can really relate to that story, because we tried to go down an avenue of like trying to get different people on to speak about different things like bowling and betting and all these things. We tried to do like niche little things, but we just found with the Andy's Man Club, it's just such like we don't need to go to these different things because everyone has a different story and everyone's life is so different. So that's how this came about, really. It's just I just felt in a situation where I was like, I want to show to everybody else that you can have crap microphones, you can have a phone, you can have 45 minutes just sitting and talking, and it makes you feel better. And if people can watch this and go, I want to go to Andy's Man Club, then we've done something that we can be proud of.
There's so many things you can do. Like you said, you've been told about so many things just going to Andy's Man Club. And that's just things that other people have done. Like, there's nothing to say you can't come up with something on your own, like for you doing the bills or the shopping list or something, It doesn't have to be pouring your heart out onto a page and putting your emotions down. It can just be a distraction that just lets you take a breather, lets you take a step back from what's going on in your head and what's going on in your life. Like, and so it's really like an avenue you got to explore yourself. But, somebody says something, just give it a go. Because the worst that can happen is, you're going to feel better in some way, at least that you've tried to do something and you're making a positive change in that, the direction of getting better. So, you're not going to get worse by trying to help yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to feel worse than you do.
A couple of things with that as well. It can be like doing something can then be a springboard for something else.
Yeah.
Or like you say, just doing something, it can stop the rut. You know what I mean? Because I think from what I've heard and just personal experience is that some people, when they are in that phase of anxiety or depression, or they're struggling, every day does become a bit of a groundhog day, because it's you do the safe things, you do things that you feel comfortable with, and you don't want to do anything outside of that comfort zone. But if you take a quick leap outside of that, do something that's pushing yourself, you're finding it hard to do, but then you do it, you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad.
So how did you find your first ever Andy's Man Club meetup? How was that for you?
My kind of first one was it's a little bit different from a lot of guys, similar to some other guys as well. Like kind of Chris said on the last episode, that we always say a huge well done to anyone who comes for the first time, because it is really basically what you're doing is you're asking a guy to come into a room with up to 12, 14 other guys, strangers potentially, and maybe open up about stuff you've potentially never spoken to anyone about before. You tell that to somebody, it's like, I'm not doing that in a million years. So anyone kind of, even if they don't speak, it's just coming along and doing it for the first time is huge. For me, I think because I'd like I say, it'd been over a year since I first kind of started to kind of get my head around suffering from anxiety and depression, and going to see a counsellor. I'd kind of really got myself ready for it, and I knew that I needed to go as well. I really knew I needed it. I needed to talk. I needed to talk probably more honestly than I ever had before. I think I spoke more honestly in those first few groups than I had to my counsellor I'd been seeing.
Do you think it's easier out of that sort of medical environment? You're just in a social setting, as opposed to like, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm writing down what you're saying, I'm diagnosing you in my head, sort of thing. Like,
but personally, again, I can only speak personally. I see a lot of benefits in both. So I still see the same counsellor now from time to time, to talk about stuff and to maybe look at things from a different perspective, because there is something about that one-to-one thing that I find really beneficial as well. However, having said that, at the same time, speaking to a load of guys who a lot of them have gone through something similar and you can really, really relate to. We obviously, the football you guys mentioned about the ball at Andy's Man Club and what a great kind of idea it is. I've had it before. Literally, I've used it as a talking ball. I've spoken to the ball because whatever I'm talking about, I'm going to struggle to talk to other guys and get the mind contact. So I talk to the ball, but then I look up, and instead of potentially seeing like shocked faces or not knowing what I'm talking about, you see a group of guys who are just nodding their head and just like, well done for saying that, and I can get what you're talking about. So I think both are really, really huge. But one of the things I guess I really have learned, especially since doing this job, is how much is actually out there as well for people. It's awareness is such a difficult thing. You guys know, getting people to listen to your podcast, it's hard work to do that. But getting people to understand about what is there from the NHS, what's available from charities, what's available from other organisations, is really difficult to find out. So I'll just give a shout out to a few of them, if that's okay.
Yeah,
kind of like kind of locally and stuff. So us, obviously, there's Andy's Man Club in Plymouth. We're quite blessed with, from the male kind of mental health support community and talking groups. We've got us, Andy's Man Club, that meet every Monday. City College, Mar Johnson, and the Rhys Centre in Plymouth. There's Every Man Matters that meets at YMCA. That's every Wednesday evening and Sunday afternoon. And there's also Man Down that meet at the Life Centre every Thursday evening. And so just like having 3 on 4 different days out of the week, and that someone can potentially go to is huge. But there's also other things as well, because as I said, some people, we know we're not for everybody. We know that, again, coming into a room, talking or maybe not talking, people might be like, that's not for me, I'm not going to get anything from this. So people who are more active like yourself and kind of really benefit from exercise and stuff like that. There's an organisation called the Bro Project. Have you ever heard of those guys? So what they do is they kind of host things like golf nights or football
Yeah.
nights, where the idea is you collectively go together, do that, but you can chat at the same time as doing it. There's a one called Pizza Pirates, who basically what you do there is you go to a venue, you make, cook, and eat pizza together.
That sounds like.
And then you can chat together at the same time.
I'll go to that one.
So
Also like pizza.
there are loads of different things around. But I would say, Facebook, Google, are always your friends. Just search for stuff. Search for female mental health, men's mental health support, and you're seeing.
There'll be something.
You
out
might
there
be
for
surprised what you can find.
So earlier you said that you just coming into a sort of a room full of 14 strangers and talking, and it got me sort of thinking. Have you ever had somebody come in, or maybe yourself even, or that you know of, where somebody's come in, like especially being from Plymouth, or if you were from Plymouth, like Rhys or whatever, you're going into your local club and you could potentially see people that you know in there. I was wondering if you've ever sort of come across that. If it, do you think it makes it harder when there's people you know and you got to sort of open this up to people that you've maybe like put a smile on and a brave face for, and like you act am I okay all the time around? Or
it's definitely happened before. It's it has, and it can be tricky for people. Some people don't mind. They're kind of just quite open. They know they want to talk, so they don't really mind who's in the room, and they'll open up. We've had it at certain groups where someone who's maybe been going for a long time spots someone coming for the first time who they know, and maybe just might say to whoever's organising the rooms or that evening, might just say, I prefer to be in a different room tonight, if that's okay. Just or potentially they might just feel like, look, I'm gonna actually go because I don't prefer that person not to see that I'm here. Again, maybe not from a dislike of that person, but just because maybe they're not ready for it to be in the open space that time. I think what kind of comes in good there is that we here in Plymouth, again, we're blessed that we've got 3 Andy's Man Club groups. So that person or one of them could maybe go to a different group. We have our online group, which is something I was going to mention to you, Rhys, actually, as well, is that in the online group, you're put into an online room with people from your regional area. So it'd be people from the southwest. So it could be like even like Wales and Bristol and stuff. And obviously, and then we encourage guys to put the camera on and things like that. But obviously, don't force people to, and you can speak quite anonymously as well in that situation. We don't force guys to tell us their name at the group. We ask them what their name is. They don't have to give their name. But you might find, even if it's just that initial, again, I'm not saying that is you. I'm just saying that might help people.
Sometimes that's a boundary, isn't it, for people to go. And like I said, if it's strangers, it's hard, and then if it's people that's another thing as well. Like I think for me, it would be something where, because I like to be always a happy person and stuff like that, and you're not always a happy person. I don't mind people seeing me like unhappy, or I'm not like that, but I know if I had something that was deep that I didn't really want people to see, I think the last person I'd want to see is somebody that I know, sort of like sat there. It would just be like you'd get over it, wouldn't you? Because you kind of go, oh, they're here for the same thing, we're in the same place, like for the same reason. But I was just wondering if you ever sort of had that where somebody's kind of had to like you say, not go or go to another one, or somebody goes, I know them, so they're potentially gonna, they'll recognize me and they might not want to. So it might be better for them if I was in a different room or something like that.
We one thing we always try to do is we try to take away as many hurdles and boundaries as possible to stop people from coming. So we try to put the groups in central-ish locations, close to kind of bus routes for people who don't drive. We don't ask for any money at the groups. We don't have collection pots. We don't ask people to pay into kitty for the teas and coffees. You don't have to be referred to come to us. Literally, guys can just come to us if they know who we are and where we're based. And there's no need to book as well. You can literally just turn up. On the other side of that, people can drop an email to us. Every club has their own email address. The name of the city, Plymouth at andysmanclub.co.uk. So if you were a person that was like, look, I'm going to come along on Monday night, but it'd be nice to know the name of someone who's going to be on the door, so I can introduce myself.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. We can do that as well. But yeah, if someone comes along and there's someone there who, for whatever reason, you just might not feel comfortable being there, we can either A, put you into a different room, B, recommend a different space for you to go to or a different club to go to. So it's definitely individual, and there's no, and like Chris was saying, and I'm really glad that he did say that, and I'm glad I didn't force him to say that. We try to make things as comfortable for absolutely everybody that attends.
So the topic I want to bring up is there's a rise in suicide all over the place. It's not, and it's the biggest killer in men. Would you ever open the doors to like children, like not like as in like like the early teen, like the 16 to 18-year-old bracket? Because when I spoke to Joe and Craig, I was kind of shocked that there is a cutoff at 18 as the youngest, because like there are so many. I mean, we've all got issues, but like I feel like there's a real big group of people that we're missing out on, like the 15, 16 to like the 18-year-olds. Is that something that you would look at doing, or is that something that you kind of want to stay away from?
Yeah, I think it's something that the charity isn't going to change.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because
there's
a lot.
I think it's more because it's not a professional sort of environment, because you could potentially say something wrong.
Yeah, 100%. I get that, but like, I just think like building a community of people with 15, 16, 17, 18, like I think that would have such a different impact. Like I wish kind of when I was 15, 16, I wish there was someone who come and spoke to me and allowed me to open up and speak, because like I said, we all have issues growing up, but like from that age group, I really struggled in school, and something that I held on to quite a long time, because I didn't want to open up. But no, I do think if there was some kind of group for kids to speak freely.
Yeah,
there could be even, couldn't there? Like you say, there's so much around. Like you could definitely. There could even be something.
I just think waiting for referrals are just. I feel like it's a criteria. You've got to tick certain boxes to get to see a counsellor, or get to even. A lot of them try and push you onto these online courses to do. Whereas I feel like sitting in this kind of environment definitely helped me.
Yeah.
But no, I just thought I'd.
No, of course, no.
Brains on that.
No, you're absolutely fine. I think it's. I think it comes with obviously anyone in the age of 18. It comes with a whole new. I'm not trying to make it sound like a hassle or anything, but it comes with a whole new different way of thinking about safeguarding and that kind of thing, and way of looking after it. Probably have to be like a
in school,
Andy's Man Club Junior or whatever. Like you'd have to be a whole different charity to deal with that kind of thing. And unfortunately, so I mean, in my previous job, I worked at the Mustard Tree at Derriford Hospital, which is the cancer support centre, and they can only see people. I think it's from 17 upwards. Something that was always came up was what support is out there for either children with cancer or children with family members with cancer. And unfortunately, it's the same thing. There's not a lot out there. We always refer back to schools. We always refer back to books, literature. We always refer back to. There is a charity that provide like kind of little kits of work that little kind of play bits of work that kids can do to help explain what's going on with family members and get them prepared for really sad situations. But yeah, unfortunately, I think it's a little bit across the board. It's difficult. It's really difficult to
you've got to kind of know what you do.
It's not straightforward. It's just saying for man.
I know I wish I knew the name of it. I'll try and find the name of it and send it to you guys to put in maybe the description of the episode. But there is an organisation or a charity in Cornwall that's a surfing charity, and that is for I'm pretty sure that's for under 18s. But it's run by people that have gone through that system and they turned 18, and then they help to run it themselves. So it's a junior one. So I'll find out what that is and let you know. I'm not sure if it expands into Devon at all, but again, I can check that.
So how was that jump between the job, like to getting your job role to being considered? How was that for a jump? Like, was that?
It was really good. I mean, I absolutely love my job. I really, this is kind of a dream job for me. So I absolutely do love it. The jump from kind of being a facilitator to a member of staff was not a lot has changed, to be honest with you. I guess the main thing that changes is so we've got 12 groups in the southwest at the moment. Soon to be 15. Got some groups opening up in June. So with the role that I do, every Monday I go to a different group. So I'm kind of like scattered around a bit. So
Yeah.
for instance, last Monday I went to our City College group here in Plymouth, and that's only the second time in a year I've been able to get to that group since I started the role. So yeah, I guess I don't see my facilitators, my mates that I made when I was a facilitator there as much.
Yeah.
The relationship is still the same. It's it's not like I'm their boss or anything. They're all volunteers. But obviously I have to sort out a few things and kind of get in touch with them for some bits and bobs about arranging the venues and all that kind of thing. So it's a slight change of relationship. On a Monday night, it's a bit different for me because I when I was going along to Marjohn's, which was my kind of home group, each week, obviously, people kind of know your story a little bit, know a bit about you, talk about it a little bit, and there's a real level of comfort there. And I feel comfortable with all the groups I go to at the minute, but I find that I can't use it in the same way.
That one,
I can't find it that I can't use it in the same way that I used to because I'm going somewhere that I'm only going to go to once every 3 or 4 months, and so it's that kind of has changed slightly. So within that, to kind of make that up, make up for that, I guess the staff members at Andy's Man Club are great. We're a real tight knit bunch. We're in communication with each other all the time. Our head office is in Halifax, so I only get up there a couple of times a year, but we're all on video call all the time. We're all messaging each other all the time, and we've got our own little kind of way of communicating with each other and maybe getting out some things that because we do the questions ourselves. So like on a Friday, for example, on a Monday morning, someone will send into our kind of chat, these are the questions that we're going to ask tonight. And as a staff group, we kind of answer them and kind of get stuff off our chest that way as well. So yeah, there's different ways of making up for it, I guess.
What's your personal main aim with this group? Like, how do you want to see it in the next 5 years? So are you wanting this group not to realistically exist in 5 years because you want there to be enough? Is that your main aim?
Yeah, I guess it's to open up as many groups as is viable. So again, in June, we're opening up 3 new groups. So we've got one opening up in Taunton, one opening up in Buckfast-Lee, and one opening up in Tiverton. So those are some ones we've been working on for quite a long time. The big thing for this year is to open up our first group in Cornwall. So that's a huge thing. So, suicide rates at the minute across the border are the highest since 1999. So that's men, women, the kind of the whole spectrum really. And Cornwall is included within that. It's got a really high, kind of suicide rate. There's a lot of deprivation in lots of areas of Cornwall. So we're hoping to open up. I've been tasked with opening up at least one. I personally want to try and open at least 2 in that area. I want to try and open up another group in Taunton. Another group in Somerset. To have 3 groups there, and then in Devon, I really want to try and branch up to North Devon. So Tiverton will be our highest. Will be our group that's kind of nearest to North Devon. It's to try and kind of get to that area as well. But in amongst that is maintaining the groups that we already have. So our 3 groups here in Plymouth and the other groups we have here in the south of Devon as well.
So just to sort of go into yourself a bit more as well. What in your sort of mental health journey and your struggle with it leading up to Andy's Man Club. If you tell us a bit about your story sort of pre-Andy's Man Club and sort of any key points that you want to bring up or sort of any advice you'd give to someone in your position sort of before you joined Andy's Man Club.
I think for me, so like I say, it kind of started around summer of or late 2020, and I went through a few different stages where I found I was very open straight away about it. First of all, I was kind of very open with my partner at the time, with my family, with my friends, because I knew I'm not a very good. I'm kind of a bit of a heart on the sleeve type person, so
it's good.
Feeling great.
It's obvious if you're,
and also as well, we can probably all relate to this. Is that kind of masking thing of pretending that you're okay can get extremely tiresome very, very quickly. So I found that I was struggling with that. So everything was kind of all over my face that I wasn't doing very well. I was kind of open with people about it. So then that also made me feel comfortable when I did see
Yeah.
people again. I didn't have to act like everything was okay. I
Yeah.
could just say, oh, yeah, things aren't great, or however they were. So that was one thing. I was quite open about it. But I also found that I can't remember the kind of like the kind of pathway to it and stuff, but I just found that what I really struggled with, kind of being suffering from depression, suffering from anxiety, getting used to medications, different types of medications. There was a lot of numbness for a long time.
Okay.
I was quite
Yeah.
numb. I'm quite an emotional person, so I can like kind of
To tell when you were like just.
I can kind of cry at anything. I'll laugh easily at stuff, but I was kind of at that point where just nothing was reaching.
How
me
did
in
you
that
feel
way.
being around your family? Like, because I found in that situation, I couldn't be alone.
Yeah.
I had to be. If I was alone, my brain would go a million miles an hour, and in maybe 5 minutes, I could be up bed down there.
It was hard. So I've got 2 children. So obviously I was living with them, seeing them every day and stuff. And yeah, I did find a couple of occasions when I was really bad. I was signed off work for a few weeks, couple of months, a couple of different times. I really didn't want to see them at that time because it was that stereotypical thing of days on end in bed, not being able to get up, not showering, not looking after myself, not communicating, just existing, and I really didn't want to. I didn't want them to see me like that, and I didn't want to see them because I knew no matter how much I love my kids to death, but there was a disconnect there from everything. When I was starting to feel a bit better, it was I was around them as much as I could be. I mean, one prime example of kind of how far things did get eventually was I remember I was taking my son to swimming lessons at the time, so every Sunday I'd take him to the life centre, and I was going through a difficult time then. I was kind of in a phase where I was kind of self-harming. I was kind of whipping myself on my back with my belt. I was kind of doing it at work. I was doing it at home, and it was very like it was that kind of numb thing. I was like, I just don't feel anything. Like I wanted to feel something.
Yeah.
And I also was like, there was that guilt and there was that anger at myself. Like, why am I like this? I'm kind of in a good relationship. I've got a decent job, and my kids are amazing. Why am I feeling like this? So I was kind of doing that at the time, but also I remember watching my son this one Sunday. I was watching him doing a swimming lesson, and I got my phone out and I started drafting this email to my partner at the time, and I was writing on it like where our life insurance policy was and the contact details for like some pensions for like old jobs that she can get in touch with, because basically I was kind of getting my affairs in order in case I got to a point where I was going to end my life. I wasn't making a plan to end my life, but I was like, it's getting to a point now where I kind of don't really want to exist like this anymore, and nothing seems to be changing or getting better. So I was kind of getting everything in order, and I was just like, what can I do that's going to be helpful? Because I'm obviously going to break my partner's heart, I'm going to break my kids' hearts, and but again, it wasn't registering like that's going to stop me doing it. It was just like I was aware of that, so I wanted to make sure that everything was as easy as possible. Obviously, not that it would be. So then, I'm quite open about stuff. So I told my partner at the time about that email. I told them about that was self-harming, and as anyone who loves you would do, they were a mix of upset, they were a mix of angry, they were a mix of emotional, and it was really hard. But then when I talked about it at Andy's Man Club, it was obviously guys were like, especially who I know, were like, Steve, I'm so really sorry to hear that and stuff. But a lot of the time it was been there before as well. I get what you're talking about. It's not you're not the only person who's ever felt that before. Don't be so hard on yourself. Look after yourself. And it kind of made me feel like, okay, I can kind of get through this.
Did that make you feel worse knowing your life was perfect and you're still feeling the lowest you ever feel, even though you're looking around? You got a house, you got money, you got food on the table, you've got happy kids. Does that make you feel worse?
It was a big thing for me. Yeah, it was a big thing for me. I never thought I had like a perfect life at all, but I would look at my close family member was still really struggling with their mental health at the time, and they were in the situation that they were in, and I'd look at that situation and be like, oh jeez, I wouldn't. I wouldn't swap for that situation.
How can I justify mine?
Yeah, I'm just like I would never in a million years want to be like that or feel like that. And they, I was like, not that I'm in a better position, but just I bet they would give that an arm and a leg to be in my situation. So I always did.
See, because that's how I feel. And literally yesterday, I was with my other half in town, and I'm literally looking at a homeless man in front of a shop, closed down shop, sleeping. And I said to my other half, like, that's what puts my life in perspective. That I'm at home, week 4 payday, thinking, oh, I've got 100 quid to last me like a week. Whereas there's literally a man there on the floor who would give anything just to be us, where we got fresh clothes, walk into a shop, spending some money, we're about to jump in our car, go home to our house, which is heated, we've got food, you know what I mean? So that for me, even yesterday, just like seeing that, like, puts my life in perspective all the time, just seeing those little things here and there, and it's like...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think anyone who's in our position, and lucky as we are from a kind of just what we have living, in life, just living. All you need to do for perspective is to walk downtown. It's turn on the TV. Look at the news. Look at what's happening around the world to give you some perspective. But again, though, what comes into that is we have a lot of sayings at Andy's Man Club, and one of the sayings we have is that, and again, you've touched on it in other episodes, is there's no tantrums in Andy's Man Club. So, and I learned this firsthand one night. I remember this guy. It was the first time I'd been in the group with him. He'd been there a few times. But he really opened up on this night, and I was sat right next to him. And the story that he told on this question 3 of anything you want to get off your chest was everyone in the room was in tears. Everyone was like, oh my God, I can't believe you've been through that or you're going through that. And it was heartbreaking. And loads of guys had comments to say. I put my arm, he broke down, I put my arm on his shoulder. Lots of guys had supportive things to say. And then eventually he passed the ball on to me. It was probably a good 15, 20 minutes. He passed the ball on to me. And what I did was I counted to 5 in my head, and then I just went straight into what I needed to talk about, which in relation to it was just like, oh, this annoying thing happened this week.
Yeah.
Because what happens is that a lot of times when that happens, the next person will be like, how can I follow that? Mine is nothing in comparison to that. All I did was get a parking ticket this week, or I got caught speeding, or the shop didn't have my favourite drink or whatever. But to you, that's what you need to get off your chest that week, and that's what you need to get off your chest that week, because that one little thing, it's not little, but that one thing, and then build up.
See, that's why he's perfect for this, because when I was doing this, I was going to do it by myself, and in my head, I've kind of got this vision that, like, to be depressed, you have to have a big story to tell, whereas he used to get like we went to the gym the other day, I went to get my can of drink out the thing, and it wouldn't come down. And I'm like, oh, well, it's only £2.50. And he's like, no, that would annoy me. And I'm thinking, it's £2.50. But, like, he puts my life in perspective. Like, there are little things that can cause massive, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And it depends on the situations you're in. Like, I've never been a millionaire. I'm sure I'll never be one. But someone who's a millionaire and from the outside looks like they literally do have everything. They get ill. Their family get ill. They have family members who pass away. They live a certain life that when they get, there's an issue with their finances, they potentially be homeless.
Sometimes they're in a worse position.
For me, I want to try and talk to a footballer. I've tried to get through to our goal, but it's a lot of things that have, it's a difficult
very
ground.
Close to, weren't we?
It's a difficult ground to get on, but that's what I want to speak to, because you look at, like, you idolise footballers, you think they've got it all amazing, they got this money, got this, whatever, but they've got to live a normal life. They've got to have an argument at home and then come on the pitch and play bad. You've got 12,000 people screaming like stuff at you, and that's the kind of world I want to speak to as well, because, like, just because us normal people, everyone all.
Sometimes the more you got on your shoulders. So when it does go wrong, there's more on top of you. And that's all going to come.
It's all relative as well. When Andy's Man Club opened our group at the Etihad Stadium, Manchester City Stadium, they were great. And John Stones did a little sit down with some of our employees, and they did a couple of examples of some questions we asked on a Monday night, and like a question 3 and stuff, or like he was talking about a time when he maybe have struggled in his life, and he said, "Oh, when I was in really bad form, struggling with injuries, and I wasn't being selected for the England team, that was a really difficult time for me and everything." And then you kind of think, well, that's what he does for a living. He's a professional footballer, and he has ambitions and stuff, and he wasn't preaching that.
The same as
and he felt, oh God, that's what I want to do in my life. They have a very finite amount of time to do what they do for a living, so you want to do as much as you can. If that's being taken away from you, it's going to be terrible.
It's a nice feeling to know that these people that you see on TV and like you idolize and stuff like that, they're people too. So once you break down that celebrity and that everyone, no matter what they do or where they're from, they're just a person at the end of the day.
Definitely.
So I think that's a really good thing that, like, you know, that would be a good thing if you could get celebrities or some sort of person like that in the club. And it's like, so around here and in this club, you're just you're just the person, you're not who you are outside.
Exactly.
Which is a good thing. And I think, like, if you could see, you know, that's why I think nowadays, especially when you get celebrities that are so, like, open and honest, and like Lewis Capaldi's a big one at the minute, isn't he? Where it's like, wow, this person is just, you know, he's a normal bloke, and he come into all this fame, and you've really seen like the two sides of it through people like that. And I think stuff like that is a really big thing for people our age nowadays, you know, because they're on talk shows, they got to be perfect, they got to be funny, they got to look beautiful, they got to have everything going, you know, they got to be the perfect image. But sometimes when that person that's supposed to keep up that image ends up, you know, they break down and they have things wrong, and they come back to your level a little bit, if that makes sense, in a way. And you both just realise that everyone's a person. Stuff like that is actually really good to help people feel more comfortable opening up.
I'm definitely going to watch the new Freddie Flintoff documentary. I've heard a couple people say it's, you know, getting to really, he talks about obviously his crash that he had in Top Gear. I remember he did one about male eating disorders before on BBC, and that was really, really effective. So yeah, I mean, that's a really good one.
Yeah, again, that's a very, like, sort of female-centered thing, isn't it? Sort of women and their bodies and eating disorders and stuff like that. And that's another avenue that you don't really see, like, is portrayed as a male sort of problem.
It's things like that, things like domestic abuse, you know, male domestic abuse is something that's not talked about a lot, and you know, not known about a lot or whatever. So not taken away obviously from these things that happen, like a much higher percentage with women and stuff, but it's always that thing that it does, you know, it does happen to men as well. It can happen to men as well. And hopefully again, places like Andy's Man Club or anywhere else, if a counsellor or a GP is hopefully are places where guys can open up about those things.
So sort of if you had something that you could say resonates with you, like some sort of phrase or a quote, or when you're feeling bad nowadays, or you know, back when you were sort of pre Andy's Man Club and you try and pick yourself up, if you had one sort of saying or phrase that resonates with you that maybe someone might take away and sort of say to themselves or somebody else, what comes to your head when you think about that?
Just one other thing I would say just on top of that as well is just you know, these things can happen when you are going to Andy's Man Club or doing other things as well. Obviously, you know, if Andy's Man Club becomes a big part of your life, you go every Monday, life can still catch up with you. I've had some terrible times when I've still been going to Andy's Man Club, but it's been that constant there for me. But picking up on your exact question is, for me, it's this too shall pass. It's just very, very simple. But also it's a good phrase for good and bad times. It's that kind of thing of when things are terrible, when things are really bad, this too shall pass. This situation, you'll get through this situation. However you might get through it, it will pass, and you will come out the other side. The same thing when things are going great. This too shall pass as well. Things are really going really, really well now, really, really well, and hopefully it will continue. It potentially might not.
It's like what you said recently. You kind of, you know that you're going to get things thrown at you, good and bad, and you just got to kind of know that with support and help, you're gonna have all these good times and get through the bad ones.
And it's just having those tools there as well. You know, that's what I mentioned about other groups and other things and things that you can do. I think it's if you can put as many tools in your toolbox as possible, so that whenever something is thrown at you, you're like, okay, I can deal with it maybe with this, or I can do this to support myself to get through it. So I encourage anyone to just go to like you guys said, you know, there's no you're not going to lose anything from trying something. You might find it doesn't work for you, but it might springboard into something else, or it might work for you.
And like you said, Rhys, like time is perspective sometimes. So, you know, give yourself time and let yourself like have a chance to reflect and step back in whatever way whatever way works for you, shopping list,
Yeah.
bills list, or whatever, whatever works for you. Just give yourself a.
I think never be afraid to put yourself first as well.
Mm.
Even if you're someone that is in a situation where you're having to support someone else, or that you're usually a person that people rely on. Putting boundaries in place, I think, are really important for people, and making that time for yourself. It's that whole thing again. We've got another saying: is you can't pour from an empty cup. If you don't fill up your own cup, fill up your own jug, you can't help somebody else. So yeah, never be afraid to say no to something if you've made time for yourself to do something that you need to do to help yourself feel better.
I'm currently doing that at the minute.
Amazing.
Trying to put boundaries in place.
Yeah.
Just making time for myself because I do find that I am one to help a lot of people, or never really put myself first.
Yeah.
And I get myself into situations like I said off camera where I'll have a good few months and then I let things just get on top and I'll just lose myself for a couple of weeks and then have to go around and apologise to everybody for acting like a bit of a knob.
But yeah, anyway, so yeah, put yourself first and give yourself the attention, and there's lots of resources out there, and you just gotta be brave and try and seek them out, and be a little selfish, put yourself first, but you're going to be more the better for it for everyone as well around you in your life as well. So putting yourself first is never just a selfish thing as well. It's sometimes it's just a necessity for you and for everyone around you as well. So sometimes, if not for you, think about the people around you and think the effect that your mental health may have on other people, if that's something that drives you, like you're being better for somebody else as well, because sometimes that's a driving factor, isn't it?
I want to say thank you for your time, because I do enjoy these podcasts, because you do lose sight of all this sometimes when you go about your everyday job, and it's nice to sit down around the table and just discuss how you feel and listen to other people. It's I find it really refreshing, and I think it kind of puts you back into reality of life isn't always amazing, and there's always somebody doing better or worse than you, and it's always nice just to be that shoulder to cry on, or give that good advice, or actually it's nice to ask for advice, because everybody's in a different space in their life, and someone's always needing help, or somebody's always willing to give help. So I want to thank you for your time, because it's always nice to speak to people who feel the same, and it's nice to have these conversations, these awkward conversations that aren't awkward, because we can speak freely without being judged.
Our saying is it's okay to talk. And thank you so much to you guys for so much support towards Andy's Man Club, and to talking about mental health, and trying to help break down that stigma in men's mental health as well. It's really important. I do have to say just one quick thing. We're here at the Bees Knees Cafe on Hyde Park Road in Plymouth today.
I said
I'd get a plug in.
I was going to say I was going to do a little shout out at the end anyway.
Sorry, I stole your thunder.
No, that's right. Yeah, but here in Plymouth, Bees Knees Cafe. We met the owner when we came in, didn't we? Absolutely lovely. And we can't thank her enough for letting us have this beautiful cafe to film in and do this. So if you're ever near the Motley area in Plymouth, fancy a coffee or come into our beautiful little cafe, Bees Knees in Plymouth.
It's gluten free as well, so it's if you're gluten free, please come on in. Even if you're not, it's delicious.
But and thank you guys if you're watching, or and comment if you want to talk about anything, or you just want to let us know anything, or what you think about it. But we'll end it there, and thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you guys.
And we can't express enough how much Andy's Man Club has kind of opened our eyes, and we've already touched on the impact that it's had on just how much we know is out there now, so everyone says you're never alone, but when you literally see it and you hear about how much there is, that really puts it into perspective that you're not alone.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Why should we do that first time round?
Yes. That's what we're talking about.